Back in the 1950s, some logging crews came into this valley and took as much timber as they could for a sawmill. And the shot you're seeing there now shows you the natural timber of the valley. There's been no added planting in amongst that lot at all up there, and that's the natural the type of tree that grows in the district, which are grey gums. When we came along, I decided to plant up this little flat that we're on in 1994. It was when we planted our first trees here, and you can see it took us about 3 or 4 years to plant the full length of the flat, and we're in the area that was planted on the first year. So I'll just stand over beside this tree over here so you can get an idea of what size they've grown to in 30 years. They're 30 years old.
So this is a 30-year-old tree, Dad, standing in front of here.
And it's not quite the biggest tree that we have planted on the property.
What sort of tree is this tree?
Sydney blue gum.
Okay.
Now these Sydney blue gums is just general timber, general purpose timber for house frames.
Hardwood.
Hardwood timber for house frames. So this is the type of one of the types of trees that the sawmills would have been wanting. There's quite a few different ones, but this is up there amongst the best of them. As well as that, I decided to do a mix of trees. What's
this one right here?
Yeah, that's okay. That's a white cedar, that one, and it does have a special role too, which is furniture timbers. It's certainly not normal to use it as house framing, but furniture, yes, that was a special role for that sort of tree. So this is a pecan. This is a nut tree, and it draws the white cockatoos, and we get flocks of them when the nuts are in season, which I don't like at all. They're the pest. They're very noisy,
destructive.
We never get any of the nuts. The birds get the lot of them. Also, it's part of the hickory family, the pecan tree, and hickory is a special, used lots and lots in the past. Now it's all usually plastic, but in the past for tool handles.
Mm-hmm.
So again, these, as you see, my selection of trees, they've mainly often got a specialty use, with the exception of the first one, which was, very wide general purpose. Okay, now this is the last one of the main types of trees we planted. There is one more that I'll show you before we leave, but this is called tallow wood, and you'll see it's a rough bark tree, whereas the barks vary hugely from tree type to type of the trees, and the special use of the tallow woods is for, again, house building, but for the windowsills and things of that nature, particularly windowsills.
Mm-hmm.
It stands up to the weathering effect of on the outside of a building. In the most recently planted part of the forest, you'd notice we don't have big trees to the same extent as we did where we had the first shots. Just here on this little row here, you can see 4 trees of the same type. They're not particularly big. These are walnuts. Now, again, we've got a bird problem with the birds get all the nuts. We don't get any. And but the real reason I planted these was that I read somewhere that walnut is the most expensive tree that's grown in North America. So I thought if it's a very valuable type of timber, well, we'll have a go with it.
I think it's mainly furniture timber, isn't it, Dad?
Yes. Yes, it's got a very elaborate grain in the timber. I've seen it used on the fronts of upright pianos as the feature timber there.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dad. Okay.
Okay. This part of our property is called Tigers Gap. It got that name not before we bought the property, and I'm just going to tell you the little short story about how. In '49, this district had its biggest floods in record, biggest floods by a long way, and the owners of the property, their house is about 2 kilometres away from here, downstream in the valley, and they, at one point in the during that huge rain event, they heard a big roar come from this direction. And after the floods were over and they could get around and that sort of thing, they were very curious to find out what made that noise, and it turned out to be a landslide. That there was quite a substantial bit of the hill came sliding down towards the bottom of the valley and made this huge noise as it happened. And they thought it sounded a bit like the roar of a big cat, and so they chose a tiger for the term of naming the place, and that's how Tigers Gap here got its name.
These trees are interesting. These are melaleucas, otherwise known as a paper bark, and of course because they have a very papery bark. So you can see that the bark comes off in very thin sheets, and you know, it really is almost like paper.